opened in 2002, Crosswinds has 3 9-hole golf courses that can all be combined into 18-hole championship courses that measure 7,000 yards or more from the back tees. Hertzen and Fry designed all 27 holes in golf-rich Plymouth, Massachusetts. It's often considered one of the best values in Massachusetts, and it's hard to disagree. From Monday to Thursday in 2024, it costs $67 to play 18 holes and $45 to play 9 holes. The rate on the weekend for 18 holes is $89, and you pay $50 for 9 holes. The course is a tough walk. It's also on their website described as a resort-style course, so there are some long trips between greens and tees, but you can walk it. But carts are included in that price. So once again, you're paying $89 for a golf cart and 18 holes of golf on the weekend in Plymouth, Massachusetts. They also have a driving range that has turf and also grass when conditions are good enough to open that section. The 3 sets of 9 holes, the Jones, the Zaharias, and the Wilmette, are all really good. You're not going to go wrong playing any of them. They are your typical Cape Cod style golf with short pine trees lining fairways, tight driving holes, elevation changes, rolling hills. There's some short drivable par 4s, some long par 3s, a good mix of holes just throughout the whole round. Because it's close to Cape Cod and in Plymouth, it is good grounds for golf as far as the turf and the sandy soil. In dry times, the course really has that thump to it when you're playing, hitting balls onto greens, even balls landing on fairways. You can hear it land, and obviously when it rains, it drains well because of that sandy soil down in Plymouth. So kind of a good course to play. It's open typically year-round as well, so if you have the itch to play in February and it's one of those warm days, or you're a sicko and you want to play on a cold day, Crosswinds is typically open throughout the whole year, obviously depending on snowfall. But if you want to play in February, Crosswinds is willing to have you if the snow has not fallen too heavily over the course of the winter. The Zaharias course, named after Babe Zaharias, was a solid test. The par 3 8th offered a long iron challenge with water that comes into play. The par 4 7th is one of those holes that on the right day, even though there's water in play, you could hit driver and try to hit it up near the green, or just play it safe and hit a long iron and a wedge on to that green. The Jones course of the 3 9s was my favorite. We played the tips, and each shot offered a bunch of choices off the tee. You could hit driver and try to cut dog legs, or you could just simply play it really safe out into the fat part of the fairway with an iron or hybrid or fairway wood. The green complexes are challenging on the Jones, and they're well bunkered. You're hitting a lot of shots downhill or uphill to various greens and into fairways. So you're always kind of trying to judge your distances, and you need to get those right to shoot a good score. Great land movement, great variety throughout all 3 courses, but the Jones in particular. Across all 9 holes, there are spots where balls can kind of end up running into the woods when you wouldn't expect it, like I said, especially when it's dry and there hasn't been much rain. It just shrinks the playing area a little bit as far as when the ball lands maybe in the rough, on the edge of the rough, the ball can kind of end up running into the woods, into hazards. And with blind shots, it can be sometimes tricky to track your ball down when the course is running pretty quickly. My favorite hole, I've got a few, but the kind of number one that stands out to me is actually the first hole in the Jones course. It's a 546-yard par 5. Well bunkered, uphill, provides a good challenge for players who are just starting their round. You could walk from the car, hit this tee shot, and kind of get on with your round and get going. Or it's also a nice hole to play if you're making the turn coming off of the Wilmette or the Zaharias course. Kind of a good 10th hole as well when you're loose, and maybe you can maybe try to get there in 2, or at least get up close to the green in 2. There's a massive bunker in the middle of the fairway that I think is a cool feature. It comes into play for longer hitters. Or sometimes if you're maybe trying to escape trouble after a bad tee shot, it's just in that right spot where it can come into play. So good second shot. You got to hit a good third onto the green. It climbs uphill once you get into the fairway after your tee shot, and just a really good hole that I think is a good opener at Crosswinds. Some honorable mentions, just to hit on some different ones at the different courses. So Jones 1, and then we've got Zaharias, the second hole at Zaharias, which is a 466-yard par 4. It's a subtle dogleg right. The second shot is one of probably the tougher ones on the course, especially if you're not terribly long, or you hit a tee shot that's a little bit to the right side of the fairway or in the right trees. You might be chipping out or trying to hit a kind of a fade around the corner. There's a ring of bunkers that offer not so much. They're not going to come into play if you hit an okay shot to the green, but they are visually intimidating because they look like they're next to the green. They're not. But the second shot is also kind of uphill and a little bit blind, so it's an unnerving shot to have to hit, possibly early in your round if you are playing that as your second hole of your day. But a really good hole, a really good test, really gives you a good sense of where your game is at if you're playing that as your second hole or as your 11th. And then the Wimet's third hole, which made my 2020 composite course list. I really liked this hole. It's a cool sweeping dogleg left that just kind of slowly climbs uphill. There's a steep bank. It's kind of a banked hole, so you can kind of hit a slinging draw if you want and try to ride that bank and get some extra yardage. It's a semi-blind uphill shot to the green. You can kind of bump it up. There's some cool mounding. Those are kind of the three holes, one from each, that I particularly liked at Crosswinds. With so much golf to choose from in Plymouth, Crosswinds is the best value that you will find if you want to play 18 holes of championship golf. You can even play all 27 holes in one day, which I have done, and it's still cheaper than some of the more expensive 18-hole courses in the area and in Plymouth. So Crosswinds, make sure you put it on your list. Play it in the late fall, play it in the winter, play it in the summer. It's good all the time. Really great value, good challenge, good test, a lot of different types of holes, a good version of Cape Cod golf at Crosswinds in Plymouth, Massachusetts.